What's up, guys? Michael here with Valencia Fan TV, bringing you the latest video about the club we all love, Valencia. Be sure to subscribe for the latest news, match predictions, and recaps, as well as coverage of this summer's transfer market. I think the transfer market is one of the most exciting times of the year. We all start new and we all dream of future success. So with that being said, we're going to look at 7 players I think Valencia should sign this year. They're all going to be realistic, and by that I mean costing less than $20 million. Obviously, our finances are in a poor spot. And the first player is going to be Alejo Velez out of Rosario Central. The 19-year-old Argentinian striker is 6'1" and eerily reminiscent to Mario Kempes. It would be quite the deal if we're able to pull this off. He currently is actually shining at the U20 World Cup before Argentina got knocked out, and he scored a few goals there. But he's been on a tear this year. He's got 7 goals in 14 games in the first division of Argentina, which is not an easy division to score goals in. It's very physical, very demanding league. So I think that he can make the jump to La Liga pretty well. And I think this is the perfect club for him. He's going to step up from a lesser league in Argentina to La Liga, and then potentially succeed at Valencia, and then get a massive move to one of the real top clubs in the world. So I think it's a great fit for him and a great fit for Valencia. He's a right-footed player with a strong work rate. We need that. We need somebody who's going to press a little bit. He's strong in the air. He does need to work up a little bit. He needs to work on his link-up play a little bit, but we can definitely improve that as he is only 19 years old. Now, transfer market has him valued at 4 million euros. I think we'd probably need to spend more than 10 to 15 million to actually secure a signature, considering at his hot start this year. But moving on to probably the most famous player on the list, Jesus Ferreira, particularly if you're American. He's a 22-year-old forward for FC Dallas. FC Dallas has an incredible pipeline of talent. They produced Weston McKennie. They produced Ricardo Pepe. There are a number of players in the U.S. national team that they've helped develop. And really, he's the next in that generation. He's been a proper goal scorer his entire time in MLS. I think he's already like the second highest goal scorer in FC Dallas history. He's got 10 goals this year, which leads MLS in just 15 games. So really an incredible goal scorer at this young age. Now he's only valued according to the transfer market at 8 million euros, but I think we probably have to again spend more like 10 to 15 million. I think this could also be a great marketing ploy for Valencia. We would now have 2 Americans in the squad. I think that could kind of make us the de facto team for Americans who want to follow La Liga. Moving on to probably the most practical player on the list, Joselu out of Espanyol. Of course, Espanyol was relegated, and their loss can potentially be Valencia's gain. The 33-year-old Spanish forward has been prolific his whole career. He actually netted 16 times last year in his 33-year-old season, which is pretty incredible. Really an ageless wonder, and we have been seeing La Liga kind of shift more towards some of these older strikers with continued success. Benzema, Lewandowski, Suarez. Morales. There's been a number of players later in their career who've had success in the Liga, and I think he can continue this trend. He's not the 36-year-old striker like Cavani. He still has a couple more years than Cavani left. He played 2,900 minutes last year, so he's very reliable despite his age. And he actually had the 7th highest match rating in La Liga last year, beating out guys like Frankie de Jong and Dembele. And I think that a player like this at Valencia could really make the difference between a 10th place finish and a 7th place finish. So that can't be underrated. Kind of another young promising player, we have Bilal Toure. He's a Malayan forward out of Almeria, and this would be a great win for us. If we could take one from our direct rival and weaken them and strengthen us, that would be great. He had 7 goals and 2 assists in his first La Liga season last year. He had a 72% pass percentage, which again needs some work, but it's stronger than Veliz, and he might be more of a proven product in La Liga. And he's still just 21 years old. This is a player who could really develop into becoming, a top player and potentially move on for a great profit for Valencia. And this is where I really want us to be focusing on. If we're not going to sign a real proven player like Joselu, let's sign some young players. Let's develop them. Let's make them world-class players and keep them or sell them on for big profits. I think that's the way Valencia really needs to move forward. Moving into the midfield, we have another Argentinian player out of Teleres in Rodrigo Garro. 25-year-old midfielder, really has been prolific this year. 4 goals, 4 assists in 18 games. He's not at that 18-year-old, 19-year-old profile, so a lot of the probably biggest clubs in the world. They're probably overlooking him at this point. They don't see him as that world class player, but I think he can definitely come in and do a real good job for Valencia. He has 2.6 key passes per game, which is pretty immense compared to his peers in the league. And I think he's finally someone to kind of take that place of Parejo and Soler that we've been looking for. I think that he's a player we can get pretty cheap. He's currently valued at 4.5 million euros, and the finances down in Argentina are pretty weak right now. So I think we could actually probably sign him for right around that. And Valencia could definitely pull this transfer off. I think we need to be creative in the midfield, sign some players that maybe other clubs aren't targeting. We turn back to Espanyol as we look at the 29-year-old Spanish midfielder Sergi Derder. And Derder really was the star of the team this year. He is actually the highest valued player according to the transfer market on today's list at 16 million euros. I think he's probably valued actually a little less than that in reality. I think maybe more like 10 million, considering Espanyol's relegation. I think that they'll be kind of desperate to sell some of these players just to get some of the wages off their books, and I'm hoping that Valencia can again profit off of their gain. He picked up 5 Man of the Match awards last season, which is actually more than anyone on Valencia received. He had 6 goals, 3 assists. He actually played 3,300 minutes, which is far more than anyone on the team. So I think that he can really make a nice partner for Andre Almeida moving forward. And then moving into our defender choice, this is going to be maybe a little bit out of left field, but it's Jose Copeta. He's a 23-year-old center back out of Mallorca. He really is a towering defender at 6'4", and we need someone to play alongside Diakabe. Of course, we have Paulista, but Paulista is not getting any younger. I think he's 33 at this point. And then we have, of course, Facundo Gonzalez, who's really a really promising player in the youth squad, and Mosquera as well, but he's just 18 years old, so it's going to be a while before he can actually be a true player in there. He's really a clearing machine. That's kind of how I would describe him. His passing is actually pretty solid. He's completing 78% of his passes despite being 6'4", which is pretty impressive. I believe he is a right-footed defender as well. And I think again we can weaken our direct rivals Mallorca and strengthen our backline. I think this is a really solid signing, and hopefully he comes in and either provides some really solid depth or he can even compete for a starting job. But those are the 7 transfers I think Valencia could and probably should sign this year. Obviously, we don't need 4 forwards, but if we could pick up 1 or 2 of those, I think it's pretty promising to add to the group that we currently have, and then retain some of our key players for this year. Obviously, this is before any sales we might make. If we end up selling Musa, if we end up selling Mamadashvili, all this stuff could potentially change. But these are just 7 early players that I would like for us to target this year, and hopefully we get some of these to come true. I'm with Valencia.